In this episode I will print out some money to fund our new BMW project for the channel, and we get a trailer out to pick the bike up and we'll see if it will fire up. So now the Vespa build is done. There's an empty spot on the lift which need to be filled up. And since you like BMWs just as much as I do, I thought it would be a perfect time to pick up a new BMW build. But after one K75, 3 K100s, 1 R80 and 2 R100s, I thought it would be time to pick up a new type of BMW build. So for picking up the new build I need a car and I need a trailer, because it might be a little bit crashed. Well, here it is. It's a new build for the channel. It's a BMW K1200 RS from the late 90s, which made this the newest bike I ever owned. And believe it or not, it was also the most powerful BMW motorcycle available by the late 90s. It has a 1200cc 4-cylinder water-cooled engine, which produces around 130 brake horsepower. And as you can tell, it just has a little bit damage. So on the front of the bike, the left and right radiator got a little bit mangled during the accident, so they won't probably hold a lot of water, so those need to be changed. And also the foot pegs on the left and right side are broken off during the accident, and the exhaust was no longer mounted on the bike because the bracket has been broken off, but it can easily be replaced for the test drive. But with all that in mind, it's a solid candidate for a perfect build. But first things first, I needed to check the grip, because it was holding its position. So as you can see, I had a sort of cruise control situation, so it needed to be addressed. So I took the grip off, and as you can tell, it was all dirt and grime under it. So it's time to clean it all up, and after that some new grease on to check it was working properly. Yeah, perfect. So now let's check if it will start up. Nothing. So I took the voltage meter out and connected it to the battery to check the voltage, and it was only reading 10.8 volts, so it wasn't that high. So I got another spare battery lying around, which I knew was also semi-dead, so I connected it to the other battery and checked the voltage again, and then it was reading 11.8 volts, so yeah, nice, 1 voltage gain. With the two batteries now connected together, it's time to see if it will start up. So ignition, fire in the hole. Well, it works, that's for sure, but maybe it can use an exhaust, so let's order up some parts. So to get the K1200 in the riding condition again, I contacted K Parts Holland, so he is more than welcome to help me out on the used parts which he can provide. So they have a wide variety of used, rebuild and new parts for well, the whole K spectrum, so from the K75, 100, 1100 and also for the 1200. So now let's see what he sent to me. So I got two foot pegs along with the cable, so I'll change those over, no problem. And also got this hydraulic line, so the K1200 has a hydraulic operated clutch. So this new to me, the K75, K100 and K1100 had a cable operated clutch. So luckily the line is still routed to the clutch master, so I only need to change it and then top it up with fluid. So let's do that first, and then I'll tell you what I forgot to order. The left foot peg can be easily changed over by undoing the 3 Allen bolts and then swapping them over on the newer foot peg, and that's basically a job done. For the right side is more or less the same, undoing the 3 longer ones, but then you also have to undo the 2 Allen bolts that hold on the brake master cylinder, and then you can swap the whole foot peg over to the newer one. Just reconnect the wire for the rear light, and then that's the job done. So now let's continue on the hydraulic line for the clutch. The routing of the clutch line, so it runs from the master, then it goes down towards here, and then it goes down, down. So then you have the cable right here, and then eventually it goes all the way up to there. But how do I get to the bolt? Before I take an attempt on losing the bolt right there, I cleaned it by using just some fuel and a toothbrush. So right now it's fairly clean, at least clean enough to take out the bolt, but I think this is why they call us petrol heads. Yes, success, finally. So if you ever need to change the hydraulic clutch line on your K1200, just remember to use this. So the replacement clutch line is now on, and now it's time to rebleed the system so it's routed in the same way as original and got it mounted up back to here. But now first need to take these one out because yeah, this really is a mess. So I can take these trees out, no problem, but yeah, this will take some effort to get it out. So hopefully I can get it out with my impact gun with this Phillips head, and just by gently tapping it in, and then just hopefully it will get out. So let's try that. Yeah, nice. Oh man, what a relief it was that the bolts came out just without any problem. So impact gun for the win. So I got a cap off and states that only use .4 brake fluid. So I still got something left, so there isn't a lot in it. So hopefully I can top it off and make it work. First step is filling up the reservoir with the fluid. And after that I just pump out the initial air from the system. And after that I refill the reservoir, so just make sure you keep the reservoir filled up, so that's very important, otherwise you keep pulling air through the line. So now you see me using a hand pump, so that's a special hand pump from for hydraulic lines. So I go back and forward and then continue until you see no more air coming out of the hose, and then you know that the system is well bled. So now the real question is, does the clutch work? So right now it's in neutral. So clutch, first gear, still clutch in, so tires, wheel still can move freely, and now clutch out. Yeah, that's more like it. Job done. Right now there's only one thing left to do before I can take it for a ride, and that's the exhaust. So that brings me back to the parts that I forgot to order. And that's inside this envelope. It turns out you need some audio rings to mount up the exhaust, so let's mount it up to the bike. For mounting the exhaust on the bike, I put some ceramic grease on the studs, and then I could put the exhaust under the bike, which I supported temporarily with a strap. And afterwards I could connect the O2 sensor to the wiring loom, and then I could start bolt on the exhaust to the bike. The exhaust is now on, and man, this thing is heavy. So I will only use the exhaust for the test ride, and after that I'll ditch the exhaust as a whole. But let's see if it just got just a little bit more silent this time around. Yes, perfect. The bike runs. But then I noticed the RPM of the bike went up. But when I pushed with my finger on the valve of the throttle body, the RPM went down again. But as soon as I pulled my finger from the throttle bodies, the RPM went straight up again. And by the way, don't worry about the smoke, there was oil from the exhaust pipes fuming off. After messing around with the throttle positioning sensor a little bit, the bike was running pretty good and stable, so time for the test ride. And back inside the garage. So unfortunately the test ride wasn't that long as I hoped to be. It was more like up and down the street, and that was more due to this. And also right here, so there's a crack in the oil pan. So as you can see here, there's quite some oil dripping from it, and even more so right here. So I didn't want to push it any further, so I went through all the gear, so that's all good. And also on the other side of the radiator right here, so it was a tap broken off due to the accident of the bike, so there was also steam evaporate from the stop covers. Last step before we talk about the plans of this build and start tearing the bike apart, I want to check the health of the engine. So I bought myself this compression tester, and with this compression tester there's a variety of plugs, so for each type of engine you got one, but I think I'll use this one right here. So you connect this straight into the meter, and this will go where the spark plug used to be, so directly onto the cylinder head, and then you can crank over the bike, and then you can check how much psi or bar the engine is running of each cylinder, and then you compare it with 1, 2, 3, 4, and the difference between those numbers shouldn't be more than 10% from each other. You got the spark plug out, and also disconnect all the injectors, and also disconnect the coil pack, and I hooked up the second battery again. Now it's time to check the health of the engine. So the results, they are pretty good. So as you can see, cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, I got it over here in the PSI and also in bar, and as you can see there isn't much difference in between, and also the pressure overall is pretty good, so that tells me that the state of the engine is very good, so very pleased with this. Now continue on the plans for this build. Since this is a heavy bike, I want to cut some weight all around the bike. The whole subframe has to go, not only for weight but also for looks, because I want to go with a solo seater, so then I also can delete this and this. And as I said earlier, I also want to change the exhaust, so the exhaust is really heavy, so I also want to open up the rear wheel a little bit more, so I'm thinking about the shortened exhaust, which only will run somewhere up to here, so the rear wheel will be fully visible. And I also want to change the wheels from other BMW, but I get back to that a little bit later. And want to clean up the whole front end, so these mirrors has to go, and maybe think about keeping the stock controls, but the cockpit just has to go, and also the front light and all the brackets etc. had to go. And I'm thinking about keeping the front suspension for now, but that will need a full rebuild for sure. And I'm not quite sure on the front fender just yet. And since both radiators are pretty much gone, I want to change them with new ones over to the back under the seat, so that will clean up the front end look, but still have to do a little bit more research on that. And last but not least, the elephant in the room, so the fuel tank. It really is huge, and it's from plastic, so I don't like that, and I want to change it over with a metal tank, so I can let it flow just a little bit more towards the new look that I'm aiming for, but that will need some research as well, because the fuel pump is in it. So if you have any suggestions, just let me know in the comments down below. But first things first, and that's the engine. So I'm gonna do a full maintenance on the engine, so get everything clean, strip, blast, and probably paint and Cerakote. So that's a beautiful opportunity to start collab with K1200.com. If you want to maintain or rebuild a K motorcycle, they really are the address for all the right parts, new and used. Offer very good services and provide worldwide shipping. I will come back in detail on everything they can and will mean during this build. Hey, that's a nice looking K100. As you saw on my Sepang Bronze K100, a K motorcycle cannot do without the products of the Powerbrick Performance parts. They offer top-notch products for both styling and performance to bring your K bike back to life and shine like never before. So here too I will definitely go shopping for the K1200 build. So that's it for this episode. And the next episode we're gonna do a full teardown on the bike and the engine and prep everything for paint. So consider subscribing and don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching. Ciao.